Slavoj Zizek predicts that the next step in cultural evolution will be what he calls soft fascism, where, in response to the growing chaos that we've seen in culture, the leaders of nations are going to have to clamp down with a sort of hard nosed capitalism, but then try to soften it with an appeal to old tradition. So he points at something that Chairman Xi is doing in China, where he's pointing people back at Confucius. And he says that they're doing similar things in India, and he predicts the same sort of soft fascism everywhere. However, this seems to me like simply the next step in the old, stale empire decline process, As the empire starts to decline, the wise point out what's going wrong. They issue a warning, and they say that we ought to go back to tradition. We ought to go back to what used to work better. And this consistently fails to reverse the decline. And so, as counterintuitive and as scary as it may seem, when we notice our wise people doing exactly what the wise have done in the declining empires of yester millennia, we have to wonder if they really have the right idea. It makes so much sense to go back to tradition, but if the empires keep falling anyway, then we're going to have to try something different, or else this one's going to fall again, despite the best warnings of the wise. So I think to avoid soft fascism, what we need is not to go back, but to go forward. We're seeing the chaos increase. That's only going to pick up when AI, really hits the common person. Things are going to go faster. There's no slowing them down or going back. What we need to do is learn to live in the chaos. Once you learn to live without certainty, to live without certain kinds of answers, you can live without them a lot. It doesn't really matter at that point whether you're off the mark by a little or a lot. Once you've accepted that you're not going to really get the right answer and you're okay with that, you have a foundation on which to build something. And at the cultural level, that means that if we accept all of this chaos, if we accept the dissolution of the old, if we accept how much good there is in the new, and yet the need to revive some of the old that has been dissolved, if we can lean into something like a radical love that says yes to everything, then we may be able to get a little bit ahead of the accelerating evolution. And that can give us just the little bit of breathing room we might need to get some perspective on how fast things are changing, and if there's anything we can do about it that isn't going to become out of date within months or a few years. So we charge ahead of the acceleration instead of trying to resist it. And only once we're ahead of it, having given it more than it has sort of asked for, will we have the space to take back a little bit. And as we learn to give and take with it, you can't really say, but at least there's a give and a take. There's a dialogue. We can try to learn. I think we need to get that as fast as possible. The longer we resist, try to go back to old things, the harder it's going to hit when that inevitably fails and these things collapse anyway. And the faster we get ahead of it and start getting ready for chaos that will never be manageable, the less or the better the chance that we'll be able to navigate this transition in culture smoothly, avoid Zizek's soft fascism, and maybe put together something like a positive vision for what could come of that sort of re-embrace of nature in our stance, in our lives. We have everything we need to give each other absolutely wonderful lives. And maybe if we can mourn and get over what we have lost, we can get on to what we might be able to create that might be new and better than anything we've done before. So that's it on Slavoj Zizek and his soft fascism.